second. 1 second.
Let me know.
Recording started. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, a little bit of context. In Xavier's 5th grade class, their teacher every year has them do a presentation on some man or woman of God who, like a biography, a mini biography. So actually last year when we went to check out that school, we talked to this teacher who is Zave's teachers now, and some of the students told us about some of the biographies they did. We were so impressed that convinced us we should send Zave to this school, to this class, this teacher. So, and what they do is typically they do it as a presentation like they rent out a tea room and they have tea together and scones and kind of a high tea. And each person takes turns presenting their biography. But because of the lockdown, they couldn't do it, so they had to do it virtually on Zoom with the tea and all that stuff. Each person in their own room doing the tea. So Zave did his this afternoon, just a couple hours ago. And I thought it would be interesting for you guys to hear what he did. We'll skip the tea and all that. Well, you can have tea if you want. But Zave will give you his presentation. So here we go. Maybe if you can mute the others till he's done.
All right, guys, mute yourselves. If not, I'll mute you. So if you're not, and we are definitely, Auntie Anu is hooking us up with some tea just for us to enjoy this, Zave.
Cool. Okay. Should I start? Yeah. Okay. Hello, my name is Xavier Poonen, and today I will be sharing with you about the life of Xavier Poonen. This is my picture. Xavier Poonen, A Lighthouse to the Nations, by Xavier Poonen. There he was, Xavier Poonen, an officer in the Indian Navy, ready to board an Indian Navy minesweeper to defend his country in the war against Pakistan. It would almost certainly mean death. The enemy's long-range guns would almost certainly sink their boat. Could he possibly survive? Zachariah, who goes by Zach now, has planted many churches all around the world, facing many trials along the way with confidence. God spoke to him when he was 15 years old on his way home from a church service. He was prompted to share with someone else the gospel that he had heard that night, but did not know if this was God speaking to him or his own thoughts. Standing at a bus stop that night, Zach asked the Lord to guide him with a sign. If the bus approaching was his bus, then he should go home and forget the thought. If it was not his bus, then he would take it as a sign that he should share the gospel with someone. When the bus arrived, it was not his bus. He realized that the Lord had answered, so he went looking for someone with whom to share the gospel. Zach found an older gentleman sitting on a park bench and shared the gospel with him. This was the very first person to whom Zach witnessed personally. This simple act of listening to God's still, small voice that night when he was 15 years old was the first of many acts of obedience that would characterize his life. Seeing his willingness to obey in small things, God was able to speak in Zach in greater ways throughout his life. Zach was born to God-fearing parents on November 5th, 1939, in Madras, India. He was the oldest of 3 children and grew up in Delhi, the capital of India. His father, P.C. Poonen, was an engineer, and his mother, Mrs. S.C. Poonen, was the principal of a well-known school. His father was also the chairman of the committee which organized the first Billy Graham crusade in India in 1956. Zach attended St. Columbus's boys' school in Delhi for 8 years. When he was 14 and a half years old, he took an entrance exam to join the Indian Navy. Zach finished 7th in all of India and was accepted into India's National Defense Academy, becoming its youngest attendee at the age of 15. This took him 1,000 miles away from his family. In 1957, Zach graduated from the Naval Defense Academy, finishing first among all the cadets. Zach continued to excel in the Navy, pursuing his goal to one day become Admiral of the Navy. Zach was sent to a Sunday school from a young age. He prayed hundreds of times between the age 13 to 19 to ask Jesus to come into his heart, but was never sure whether God heard him. In July 1959, when Zach was 19 years old, he read Jesus' words in John 6:37. I will certainly not cast out anyone who comes to me. He had read that verse before, but this time the verse struck him. He realized that if he had asked God to come into his heart, that God most definitely did, because he said he would. Zach finally had the assurance of his salvation. It was later that same month that he was commissioned as an officer in the Indian Navy at the young age of 19. After becoming a Christian, Zach went to church meetings and Bible studies 2 or 3 times a week while stationed in the naval base in Bombay. He would use all his free time to study the Bible in his room. After God spoke to Zach in 1959, he began to consider leaving his job and entering full-time ministry, but he wanted to wait to hear from the Lord. On May 6, 1964, Zach heard a distinct message from God as he read Isaiah 49. Come out of the Navy to serve me. A few hours later, a godly older man whom Zach respected, Brother Buck Singh, asked Zach what he planned to leave the Navy. It is nearly impossible for the Navy to release an officer who they invested so much money and time into training. After hearing from God and receiving a confirmation through Brother Buck Singh's inquiry, Zach immediately wrote a letter requesting his release from the Navy. His request was promptly denied. All this led up to that moment during the Indo-Pakistan War in 1965. Moments before Zach boarded the Minesweeper, a ceasefire was declared and the war ended immediately. Zach knew that God had preserved his life, so just like Moses kept going back and asking Pharaoh to let the Israelites go, Zach continued to go back and ask the Navy to let him go over the next 2 years. In May 1966, the Navy finally released him. Zach's early life was influenced by godly people like A.W. Tozer, Amy Carmichael, Buck Singh, C.T. Studd, D.L. Moody, Sadhu Sundar Singh, Watchman Nee, and William Booth, and more, all of whom were used mightily by God. More than anything else, however, Zach's life was completely changed by meditating on the life of Jesus Christ and how he walked on this earth. Brother Buck Singh was like a mentor to Zach early in his Christian life. He approached Zach one day recommending a young Christian woman named Annie Uman for Zach to marry. Annie had been called by the Lord to serve him a few years earlier. After graduating from Christian Medical College in Vellore, India, she decided that rather spending her life becoming a rich doctor, she would serve in a Christian leprosy medical hospital in a small village in North India. Zach and Annie were married on June 19, 1968. As he was officiating the wedding, Brother Buck Singh spoke this prophecy over Zach and Annie. They are being joined for the blessing of many people in many countries, and the light of God will shine brightly by their union in many parts of the world. Zach and Annie had 4 boys. Sanjay John was born on July 20th, 1969. Santosh David was born on April 3rd, 1973. Sandeep Paul was born on December 16th, 1974. And Sunil Stephen was born on September 17th, 1978. God led them to Bangalore in southern India, which continues to be their base for building the kingdom of God. One day in 1974, Zach invited a famous preacher who happened to be in India to come to his house for lunch. Afterwards, they went up into a room to pray together. Zach told the man that he desperately needed the power of God, even though he had been in the full-time ministry for many years. The preacher answered, "It is unthinkable, Zach, that God will call you to his service and then refuse to give you his power." These words immediately bore faith in Zach's heart, and he received a special anointing from God that day. Zach saw the Great Commission of Jesus to his disciples in Mark 16, verse 15, and Matthew 28, verse 18 through 20, actually had 2 parts: to preach the gospel to all men, and to make disciples and teach them to obey all that Jesus commanded. As he observed the focus of Christian work in India, Zach saw a great lack of people fulfilling the second part of the commission. Zach decided at this point to give up the worldwide teaching ministry that he had, and instead focus on making disciples and building a local church. In August 1975, God brought Zach and another brother named Ian Robson to serve him together, and they have continued to work together in faithful fellowship to this day. God gave them a unique burden to gather disciples together into a local church body. They would emphasize discipleship, living a holy life, and separating oneself from the world, while encouraging brothers and sisters to love and forgive each other as God's family. So, Christian Fellowship Church, CFC, was born in Zach and Annie's home. After 6 years of meeting in their home, the church was able to build a church building with the money they had saved over the years. In 1983, God opened doors for Zach to travel to many small, poor villages in India, including some where the gospel of Jesus had never been shared. Since then, God has used Zach to plant over 100 churches in India, both in small villages and in large cities. God also used Zach to plant churches in other parts of the world, as far as Australia, Singapore, the Middle East, Romania, England, France, and the United States. From the very beginning of his ministry, Zach saw that the 2 of the biggest dangers in Christendom are seeking for fame and honor, Galatians 1 verse 10, and making financial profit through one spiritual gift, Luke 16 verse 13. So one unique aspect of CFC's ministry is that from the beginning, 55 years ago, none of their leaders have received a salary from the church. Zach has written hundreds of books, tracts, and articles, but he never had a desire to be an author. His writing ministry started because he had a burden for the poor students in India who were eager to know more about God, but the English books in the stores were mainly written by non-Indians and did not have a local perspective. Besides, the books were quite costly for the average Indian. So he began by typing out some of the messages he had spoken and compiled them into a book. One day, God brought a man from England to meet Zach. When Zach showed him the book, the man was so challenged by it, that he took a copy of it back with him to England and arranged for it to be published. This first book of Zach's, The Supreme Priorities, was published in 1970. Others of his best-selling books include Beauty for Ashes, God's Work Done God's Way, and his autobiography, Day of Small Beginnings. His largest work is a 1,000-page detailed book-by-book study of the Bible entitled Through the Bible, which was released in 2016. This effort began when he recorded a 70-sermon series going through each book of the Bible in 2001. He spent the next 15 years converting that content into a written volume. His primary purpose in publishing this study book was to lead people to understand the Bible from the perspective of the New Covenant. As he is often quoted saying, "It is more important that the Bible goes through you than you go through the Bible." Thousands of Zach's sermons are published on the internet in both video and audio form. As Zach has continued to stand for the truth, he has faced much opposition from family, unbelievers, and even those who call themselves Christians. Zach has had to face false rumors and once had a lawsuit brought against him. This was eventually found to be empty and was tossed out in court. God has also used Zach to bring miraculous physical healing in some cases. Zach's emphasis, however, it has always been spiritual health, power over sin and Satan. God has used him to deliver many demon-possessed people. Zach's example and teaching have also led many believers to a life of victory over sin. Zach has shown great humility throughout his life, from giving up his bright career in the Navy to becoming a world-famous preacher. As he puts it, the 3 secrets of the Christian life are: number 1, humility; number 2, humility; and number 3, humility. His favorite songs are "A Sinner Saved by Grace" and "I Stand Amazed in the Presence of Jesus the Nazarene." Zach often says that his only goals are to become more like Jesus every day and lead others on this way. And he has lived out what he has preached over the last 61 years. One subject that he often speaks about is the importance of forgiving everybody. Otherwise, God will not forgive us. Matthew 6:14. In living this out in his life, his actions has actually led some of those people to Christ. Zach and Annie still have their home in Bangalore, but continue to travel around the world, explaining in simple terms what it means to follow Jesus in today's world. His desire has always been for the true gospel to be freely available to any of those who are searching. So he has never received a salary for preaching or royalty for any of his books. Perhaps Zach's favorite subject to preach on is that God, our Father, loves us just like he loved Jesus. John 17:23. As a result of this great love, we can be freed from sin and he can fulfill his perfect will in our lives despite our past failings. Zach has touched many lives all around the world over his more than 60 years of ministry. And I can testify of that myself. I, Xavier Poonen, am one of Zach's 17 grandchildren. My life will never be the same because of him and the way he has always pointed me to Christ. From his life, I have learned the true meaning of humility, faith, enduring love, and what it means to follow Christ's example. Even through writing this essay about Zach, I have enjoyed seeing how God was able to accomplish so much through one man who decided to simply obey the voice of Jesus. I want to grow closer to Jesus every day of my life, following the example of my pop-up.
Good job, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, Zabe.
We don't need a lesson from Grandpa. That's a lesson.
Hey, Zabe, as I said,
Pop-up's muted.
Pop-up's muted.
Dad, you need to unmute yourself. There you go.
We don't need a lesson from Grandpa.
Wonderful. Zabe, what did they say?
So,
Zabe, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm really amazed how you did all that. Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
And I love your suit. I like too, man.
as I sip my tea, Zabe, I'm going to ask everybody if they have any questions for Zabe. We're going to reverse the roles. Raise your hands if you have a question for Zabe and about how he went about this assignment.
When was Zach's fourth son born?
Oh man, Zabe gave away the answer. Now my password is meaningless. Okay. Uncle Sanjay, go ahead.
Hey, how did you know how
Sanjay, you're breaking
some
up.
of those names?
You're breaking up. What did you say?
How did you learn how to pronounce some of those names like Buck Singh?
Oh, my dad helped me.
You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Liana has a question for you.
Did you memorize it or did you know the whole thing?
I memorized a little bit, like just bits. I practiced it so much that I memorized just little bits, but I read it off of paper.
But you did a good job, really. You're going to follow in Grandpa's footsteps,
You know,
preaching the gospel.
Zabe, you are the first person to write a biography of my life.
Wow.
Wow.
What?
First person to write a biography. Can we get a copy, Zabe, after this meeting? Can you send us the text?
Can I show
How much do you charge?
This is what it looks like.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure you have like a computer copy. How much do you charge? Can I download it for like $1 or $5?
He is following Zach Poonen, who charges nothing.
Yeah.
But Zabe,
No royalty.
you know, Zabe
No royalty.
interviewed Dad Pop-Up many times, I remember, but I didn't know for what he was doing that. But he would frequently talk to him and ask him questions, and you take the answers. Now I remember what that was for.
Mm.
Yeah,
Hey, Zabe, did you read the whole book, The Day of Small Beginnings?
I'm almost done. Like
Day of
I
Small
got.
Beginnings.
Oh yeah, Day of
That
Small
one.
Beginnings. Yeah,
The lighthouse.
yeah. I read Day of Small Beginnings. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Is
but
that
I
where
have read Lighthouse to the Nations. I didn't.
the Lighthouse to the Nations? Is that where you got most of your facts from?
Well, I got
What are your sources? We need to know what your sources are.
My sources
You need to
are
verify that your sources are accurate.
okay. Day of Small Beginnings, Lighthouse to the Nations, Internet, and Pop-Up.
Internet and pop-up. Wow.
That
Yeah,
last
all right.
one's a little sketchy.
Yeah, I don't know. Internet sounds a little bit sketchy, yeah, but the other three are very good sources. Very good.
I was thinking the last source. Pop up.
Oh, pop-up sounds a little sketchy. Okay. All right.
I don't know about that.
Good job.
All right, Caleb, you had a question.
How did you know everything when it happened, like like you was born in 1939? So, and all that stuff.
Some of that was in the book, but the rest what I Pop-Up told me when I interviewed him.
Did you interview him?
He interviewed me.
Oh.
Zabe, how did you know my birthday? I've been trying to hide it. The year I was born.
I'm a spy.
Internet. You found it on the internet.
Oh, man. The sketchy source.
Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, it was our pleasure.
Hey, Zabe, how many hours did you spend to do all of this?
So many.
Like interview, reading, writing,
So many days?
putting on the suit,
How many days did
Putting on the suit.
total number of hours.
Maybe
How long did the sketch
The
take?
sketch took probably 10 hours.
Wow.
It's so good, Dave.
Well done.
I did 5 tries of the sketch.
Wow, can we see the sketch again?
Good, really good.
Wow.
Hey, I got a question for Dad. Dad, how does that compare to the sketch?
Let's see that sketch once again.
Yeah, Dad,
Yeah.
how does that compare to the sketch that was done for your 80th birthday? The painting that was done for your 80th birthday?
Hang on.
Oh,
Jonas,
That is a picture of the sketch.
Can
That's
you put this on
Did
the
you try to not use like
picture of this.
real, do you try not to use a real picture?
make that into speaker view for what he's just showing.
Okay, you have to change it to speaker view.
Pin, yeah, you can pin the video.
That's right. Oh, hey.
Hold on.
I think it's better at this.
Yep, there we go. All right.
I can't see it.
Speak of you.
I'm seeing myself.
I
Speak
didn't
of you.
know from
Dad, you need to click speaker view.
If Dave
If you
talks,
select
it'll
Zave's
speaker view.
video and say pin
Smile.
video, pin video.
Wow, very good.
Dad, we can send you a picture of him holding it.
Send it, we'll send it then.
That is much better than any other painting that I've seen.
Hey, that's amazing.
Now can you see it, Dad?
That's more accurate than any other painting I've seen.
That painting or it's just
Wow, it even beats the awesome one that was done for your 80th birthday. Wow.
Absolutely. You got it. You got that one with you. You compare it and see which looks more like me.
Sunil to get home.
Right.
This one definitely looks more like me than that one.
Sunil, did you take the 80th birthday photo home?
I took it all. I have it. It's in the archives.
Yeah, so Sunil took it.
But it's somehow between DaCosta Square and here, it somehow got mysteriously ripped in half. Very, very mysteriously, like torn along a certain portion. I don't know how. So now I just have a painting of one person and not two people.
Yeah, I must say the hairstyle looks very good too. I like the hair, Zave.
Zave's hair.
Was that the hardest part of
The hardest part of the whole
doing
thing was
your
getting
hair?
his hair.
doing your hair
Yeah.
today?
So, Dad, how does this compare to all the public speaking performances of all your sons, where you wrote their speeches and you got to see them perform when they were around Zave's age?
None of you ever spoke at this age, man.
That's right. None of us ever spoke at the age of 10. That's right.
You were just reciting poems when you were 10 years old.
You have a great future.
Yeah, Dave, your presentation was excellent.
Your
Thank
public
you.
speaking for all of you was when you were about 14 or something.
just how?
Yeah, you kept us like you didn't like keep us bored. You kept us active, and I really like that. It was fun to watch you.
Thank you.
Or would you give him, how would you rate him out of 10 for presentation?
I would rate you 11 out of 10.
11 out of 10. All right. Well said. Hey, Eli's got a question for you. Eli's got a question.
I like how you drew Papa.
Thank you.
We all vote on that, sure.
All right. Okay, guys, it's 4:05. We don't have a time limit since it's my corporate account. We can hang out a little bit. Sophia has a question.
Okay, how long is your essay?
Like, how many pages is it?
Typed it's 5.
Not deep.
Wow.
Wait, what?
Wow.
5 pages, and that doesn't even look double spaced. That's wow.
That's more than we write in our school. It's
Yeah.
like twice as much as we write
So,
in our school.
hey, Zav, what does the color coding mean? What does the pink and the yellow highlights mean? What does those mean?
Oh, okay. So, orange is look up, green is pause, blue is emphasize, and pink is slow.
Oh, wow.
Where did you learn
That's-
that?
You did a lot of work on the speed at which you speak.
So how'd you decide what to emphasize and when to stop?
We just read it.
We went over it
and we
multiple
just-
times with Megan.
We read it many times.
Yeah.
Who did the highlighting?
Mom did the highlighting. I told her what to
Yeah,
highlight.
he told me how he wanted to emphasize it. Oh, Ari has a question.
Good teacher.
Ari.
I really liked how you took a lot of time to do it. You didn't just like say, okay, I did this, I'm done. No, but you took the time to edit it and make it sound nice, and I think that was really cool.
Absolutely right.
Very
Right.
good.
Ari.
Absolutely right.
Thank you, Ari.
Man, I don't know any other. I don't even think the president of America color codes his speeches. So that's very well done.
So I learned that.
Go with the secret.
We did it for my speech meet.
Speech.
Speech
He did
meet.
a speech meet a few months
It
ago.
was on how Jesus saved the disciples from the storm,
Mm-hmm.
and he calmed the sea. And
Felt like he was very monotone until we picked out which words he needed to emphasize.
Yeah.
And as soon as we did that, he became enjoyable to listen to.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
great. When did you start working on this?
Wait, like the reading or the
So he'd been reading the book. He had to read.
When did you start the assignment? It includes the reading. I mean, it doesn't include, like, when did you receive the assignment?
Daddy,
Yeah.
I like the way you're making.
They do.
You picked a person in March. Yeah, he picked this person in the middle of February. Probably started the report at the beginning of March.
Yeah.
Oh wow, good. That
The
is
whole-
2
the
months
whole
worth
school
of.
year- The whole school year works up to this project. All year they've been learning about this project.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait.
Like whenever my teacher talks about good manners, she says, for the literary T, you'll have to have good manners. Like
I
whenever.
I want to know how did this compare with all the other ones other people wrote about? You got any idea?
Yeah, how did the teachers respond? How did your judges panel respond to this?
The teacher obviously tries to be fair to everyone. I would have a biased opinion on who was the
Zane's
best.
was about 4 times longer than anyone else's.
4 times.
His was when he presented it this morning. I think was 18 minutes. The others, I think, were typically less than 10 minutes, maybe half.
Can you name some of the other people they did?
Yeah, so they did like Ida Scudder was one, Amy Carmichael, Gladys Aylward. One person did Sadhu Sundar Singh.
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham's been done.
Okay.
Who else? Jim Elliott.
Wait, not Jimmy Elliott.
Somebody did Jim Elliott last
yeah.
year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are.
Alex got a question.
At the beginning of your story, remember how you mentioned something about when Pop-Up was Pakistan?
Alex,
Are you gonna finish that story?
Huh?
You're gonna finish
Alex,
that
can you repeat? I think you were breaking up a little bit.
He said he finished that story.
In the beginning of your report, you mentioned something about Pop-Up fighting Pakistan in the Navy. Are you gonna finish the story?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, he'll read you the paragraph at the beginning again, and then the paragraph in the middle where he finishes it.
He talked about it.
There he was, Xavier Poonen, an officer in the Indian Navy, ready to board an Indian Navy minesweeper to defend his country in the war against Pakistan. It would almost certainly mean death. Long-range guns would almost certainly sink their boat. Could he possibly survive? And here. All this led up to that moment during the Indo-Pakistan War in 1965. Moments before Zach boarded the minesweeper, a ceasefire was declared and the war ended immediately. Zach knew that God had preserved his life, so just like Moses kept going back and asking Pharaoh to let the Israelites go, Zach continued to go back and ask the Navy to let him go over the next 2 years. In May 1966, the Navy finally released him.
All right, Sophia.
Thanks.
Oh, you're just playing with the slinky. Sorry, I thought you were raising your hand.
Zave, I feel pretty humbled being linked up with all these other great men and women the other people wrote about.
Yeah, well done, Dave. Liana?
How did you like draw Pop-Up in the picture?
I looked at a picture and I drew the picture. Yeah.
Leanna, it took a long time. Have you ever done a
Shall we
person?
bring the original version?
Yeah. I'll bring
You should see version 1, 2, 3, and 4.
They're pretty scary.
Okay, Eli.
But
Wait.
Zay, how did you know the things? How did you know all of it? How did you know everything?
The book and the book said some of the things, and Pop-Up told me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wait till you guys see these. You will see.
Yes. This is version 1.
That's not so bad. That's still good for us.
Okay, you got the nice eyes. Look at the kind eyes. Very nice eyes. Okay, here's version 2. Okay, version 3.
Getting better.
Doing better.
And the final one.
Wow.
Very good. Excellent.
It shows you not to give up. He was the drawing was definitely the hardest part for him. But he did good.
It was? What?
So you're going to celebrate after that.
Did all the others also draw pictures of Carmichael and Jim Elliot and all?
Yeah.
Pencil drawings? Pencil
Yeah,
drawings?
it was part of the assignment. You had to draw a picture of.
Okay.
So you're going to celebrate. How are you going to celebrate this?
Yeah, Zev, that's a lot of hard work over the year. Finally done. Are you relieved?
I don't know.
He had a stomach ache today because it was so much. We made him present it so many times. So
Wait, 1, 2.
he presented it to Olu and Ajay earlier.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times
Today.
5 times today.
5 times today.
Today you did it for us.
Hey,
Thank you, Zev. Thank you so much.
It's worth it.
Thank you for letting me do it. I was so my mom came out of the car when it was the end of the day, and she asked Mrs. Chambers, my teacher, if we could do pop-up, and she showed her the book of the Day of Small Beginnings, and she was like, in the past I've let only a few people do relatives, but Zach is definitely someone very good to do. And I was so excited that I could do.
We danced all the way back to the car when she approved it. We were so excited.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, you can draw me next.
Send us a good picture. We'll try.
What's your next project, Zev? You gotta draw the entire Poonen family. Take the entire family picture we took in November and draw it out.
That might need more of Olivia's gift than
Olivia, all right.
Draw the sketcher of the family.
So Zev, this is a living biography. So every year on Pop-Up's birthday, you're gonna have to add a new sentence. Every year, just add a new sentence, right?
Okay.
And I don't think anybody had the chance to do a presentation of someone who's actually living.
All the others are done.
Yeah, nobody else had.
We were really excited because we were really excited because at the literary tea, Pop-Up would have been the first one ever to be there that was going to get
We
presented.
had planned that Dad would be there when he presented it.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
She said
Was
that.
there any way Dad could have been a surprise visitor on the Zoom, or that wouldn't have been possible?
No, it was going to be an in-person.
Yeah, but today, no, the school's really strict.
Because the school had shut down. Before,
I mean today on the Zoom.
Yeah, they don't allow anyone else.
They don't allow visitors.
I tried.
This is a Christian school, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a great way to one up everybody else. Like, can you guys bring Jim Elliot and show Jim Elliot in real life? I can bring whoever I presented in real life.
So you send us a picture. I mean, just take a picture of that